A look at the ministry of Joy in the City, all that and more coming up now on Joy in the City True Stories. Joy in the City is a program highlighting people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the problems and dysfunction in our culture. But we are coming with a different approach as we take a look at the good things going on right here in our community. I'm Bethany Marshall, and you're about to see what God is doing in our city. For the month of January, we are highlighting several faith-based media organizations. Today, we will hear about our very own Joy in the City. This is a program that was birthed out of the heart of Troy Ferguson. Listen as he shares the story of how it all came about and what his dreams are for the future.
So Troy, about, I'd say 5 years ago, we started Joy in the City, but probably a good 2 years before that, it was but a dream.
Sure.
Didn't even have a name. Do you think you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish, or what is it that you're trying to accomplish with Joy in the City?
Well, when we first began, it's expanded since we first began. But when we first began, it was just simply capturing stories of people and organizations impacting the city. That's kind of been our mission statement. But since we've begun, we've done that on location, we've done it in the studio, and we've expanded. But I would say that I would have never guessed the number of people and organizations that are doing good things, great things, right here in our community.
And is that the heartbeat of the show?
That's been the basis of it. I would say the heartbeat is to bring joy through communication of stories and people. The concept is something that's been kind of fluid over the years. Initially, it was just like, well, let's like a news magazine. Let's start highlighting different people and organizations. And even though that is still very much the foundation of what we do, because over the last several years, we've interviewed hundreds of people, produced, my goodness, probably close to 100 or more stories. So it's still very much the basis of who we are, but it's kind of grown to some degree from there.
We've often said it was created to kind of change the conversation about our city. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, we still have people that talk negatively about our community, and that you're always going to have that. And so we started because of that. We started this whole thing because I heard people talking trash about our city, all the unemployment, the drug issue, and all that kind of stuff. And I actually kind of took offense personally to it. This is my city you're talking about. And I thought, well, if all we hear about our area is bad news, that's why people talk about that. That's why people think that way. So we needed to change the conversation. Like you said, that was really the beginning mission. Let's change the conversation about our community and highlight the good things. And so we've tried to do that.
Now you have a multifaceted role in Joy in the City. You come at it from multiple angles. So just kind of share with us, brag on yourself a little bit of what you do with Joy in the City.
Just by the mere fact of creating it, I don't have a large staff. I have a wonderful small crew that is here even now filming us, yourself included. Now we've developed into a crew. But to develop the stories, to research the information, to edit, to do all that kind of stuff, it's typically a one-man band in a sense. But I've been blessed that I've had a handful of people that I've been able to pull in to help in the different things. At the beginning, very early stages, it was typically just me. I would go somewhere, I would set up, I might even do the interviews, and I would tear down, and I would do all the editing. But God has been faithful to allow a few people to come alongside and help in different capacities, especially in recent years.
I mean, and we've been blessed with this studio and all
Definitely.
that is with it, which has taken a lot of pressure off of you.
Yes. And one of the things, I don't know if our viewers know this, but this is actually in Transformation Church. It's in the building. Pastor Jim has allowed us to take a large room and make it a studio. And we use this for a variety of things, not just Joy in the City. We've used this for a variety of things, for recording different things. And it's been a blessing to not have to pay for a studio, pay for rental or anything like that. We actually can do all that right here in the church.
Do you feel you've been heavily supported from within this church, and the congregation and everybody that you've been able to kind of fulfill this dream moving forward.
Oh, my goodness, no question. I mean, years ago, the church was known for the larger musical productions that we did. And there's still something about that I love and I miss, and not to say that we won't do some of that again. But there was a transition time that we looked at doing some type of media or communication ministry especially when we moved facilities, moved buildings. And this has easily transitioned into that, something that we do, and the church is fully supportive. Pastor Jim is an amazing leader in the sense that he doesn't micromanage what I'm doing, what I'm not doing. As long as I'm taking care of the responsibilities as a staff pastor, what he's asked me to do, he's allowed me to really dive into this and things with Joy in the City and some of the other things that has led into because of his leadership style. And it's allowed my leadership style to be able to venture into this whole journey.
Is the dream still in progress?
Always. I always look at what other things we can do. I've talked for, my goodness, 4 or 5 years about making a movie. And the whole reason we started some of this stuff was because we were looking at how to understand film and cinematography and how to understand that to eventually make films and things that can impact people's lives from a storytelling perspective. We moved into the news magazine style or interview style of show in that process, and it's been wildly adventurous in how God has used bits and pieces of this to connect us with people all throughout our area. But eventually, we still want to look into some of those entities. So the dream is still in progress, that's for sure.
Now, this whole month, we're talking about media and ministry. How are we like the others, and how are we different?
Well, one of the things that we see that different ministries have a certain niche. And the thing with Joy in the City, because Pastor has allowed me to take the time, doing all this, doing these stories, putting all this together takes a tremendous amount of time. And even though pastors may have a desire to see these stories, they just may not have the time in many situations to go after that kind of stuff. So I have the opportunity to dig into stories of people throughout our community and highlighting them. How I would say we're different, we might just have the resources. God's blessed us with the equipment to be able to do some things in a professional way. And we've also been able to take the blessings that we have in our equipment to make a few bucks, to reinvest in the equipment, to get a small staff, to get and be able to do some things that has allowed us to actually help other ministries in the area as well. Being that God has blessed me with an understanding of technology, and especially in the realm of video and that kind of stuff, there's been many opportunities that I've been able to connect with other pastors, especially during the pandemic when everybody was needing to go to virtual ministry. It allowed opportunities for us to connect and to teach and train a little bit and to help one another. So I would say that the biggest difference is just the opportunity that we have to invest the time and resources into making this as we do.
In working with you for quite a long time, I've seen this open many, many doorways for you to be with other pastors, other denominations, and just kind of integrating you into a pastoral community.
Yeah. Well, many years ago, when I was on staff here, I realized most of my relationships were just this church. But when we started Joy in the City, it's really opened up doors to meet and connect with a variety of people in different churches and different faiths in our city. Whenever the Blair County Pastors Network started a handful of years ago, that also allowed me to reach even more people and connect with people. And just if you look at just this series during the month of January, we had a story that has a Catholic emphasis. Dr. Gary Dahl is a Baptist pastor and has his hands in a variety of other ministries. The radio ministry of WTLR has their influence in many facets and different faiths. So it's amazing how the different denominations have been able to come together for a single purpose to glorify God and for His kingdom purposes. So I've really been delighted to be able to jump into that network of people that has really allowed me to see Join the City expand, as well as the opportunity for relationships to expand as well.
So where do you see us 5 years from now?
Well, that's a tough question. I believe there are certain aspects of what we can do in continuing these kind of stories, but I believe that we are going to get into an entity that's going to be transformational when it comes to the story of how someone overcame addiction, the story how someone was pulled out of gambling or relational issues, and testimonies and stories. That's what I really want to spend time in the next season of this, so we can see not just good things people are already doing, but how can we take someone's story and have a lifelong transformation impact in a family or in a person who might watch this on television or online. And those stories that we can talk about, we can display and communicate and convey, I believe that's going to be the next thing that we're going to really try to focus on.
Well, I mean, I was there when we talked about the dream. I was there when we all met in Karen's office and named the show. I remember my first interview. And we've come a long way.
Sure.
And I am just happy to be doing this show with you, and I am excited to see where we go with this in the future.
Me too. And you have been a tremendous asset so I can be behind the scenes, and you are sitting in front and interviewing people, and we have a few people that do that, and just such a blessing to have you as part of this as well.
Thanks, my pleasure.
Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story. This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, "If you can dream it, we can create it." They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs.
Made by Vogel is a father and son business that produces high-quality handmade wooden products such as cutting boards, bowls, bottle stoppers, and more. Products for sale can be found on their Etsy site or in downtown Altoona at the Clay Cup. You can't go wrong buying from Made by Vogel.
If you know a person or organization impacting our city, we want to hear about it. You can contact us at 814-944-1948 or by email at stories@joyinthecity.org. Now let's take a look at some videos from this organization.
On October 6, 2018, several groups came out to help beautify the city of Altoona. People from churches, organized groups, as well as several individuals volunteered throughout our city for projects like painting porch railings, cleaning up garbage from the streets, pulling weeds from sidewalks, and trimming bushes and trees along properties. This was done in 2 different sections of the city, and people spent most of the morning working to make these areas a better place to live. Hear from a few of the community leaders who organized this event.
Altoona Community Cleanup Day definitely met our expectations. It was exhilarating for me to see so many groups come together to make a difference in our community.
The reason that we created this day was as a way to help property owners who might not be able to make improvements to their homes. And we wanted to do that because we feel that we shouldn't be penalizing people who are unable to maybe go out and paint their houses or do some other basic property maintenance stuff.
We had approximately 130 volunteers for the day, spread out across the 2 different territories. And I think the day overall went really, really well. The volunteers came and got their supplies ahead of time for the most part, and those who weren't able to, we were able to get it to them the morning of. The rain held off, but even when it did start to rain, the volunteers, it didn't seem to deter them. They continued with the work and seemed to finish their projects.
We had several groups take part in the cleanup effort, which include Advantage Resource Group, Altoona District Mission, First Church of Christ, Altoona Alliance Church, Penn Highlands Community College Blair Center, a group of 13 who signed up with Matt Knockman, a group of 5 signed up with Jason Friedman, a large group from Overflow Church, Penn State Altoona SALT, Transformation Church, and the Lakemont Lions. We also had some additional individual volunteers as well, which totaled close to 130 people.
This was really a way to kind of, help your neighbor, and that was something that was important to me, and I thought that's something that people in the city should be embracing and should be coming out to do, because we have to look out for everybody else who lives in the city who might not be able to do these things on their own. So I was really happy to see the amount of support that we got from the faith-based community, and as well as all the businesses who wanted to step up and participate in getting involved in this.
And what I really want to do is just get the heartbeat of God behind it, right? When I was praying about it and I was in my quiet time, I remember that God was telling me that the community will rally behind you. And I remember that God was saying that he wanted his heartbeat for this place, right? Because once you buy something, you have all these things you can do, all these programs, all these ministries. At the end of the day, I don't need another thing to do, but I want to do what God wants me to do. Just like that verse, acknowledge him, he'll direct your path and your step. Like, God, what do you want to do here? What's your will for this place? I just want to be a conduit for you to be able to work through us to make Tyrone a better place, for the community to have something to do. So really just the heartbeat of God is really what we're after here.
So it's just the Armory Tyrone Community Center, and we are still in the beginning stages. We have lots of dreams. For right now, we are hosting a lot of sports facility things. So we have volleyball, we have soccer in there, we have basketball, we've held wrestling tournaments. We have office space, so we can host Bible studies, devotion groups. I have a heart for the teens in the town, so in the future I want to do something called 31 with girls, based off of Proverbs 31, and I would love to take them into the kitchen and teach them baking skills, cooking skills, simple things on how to survive on your own, what it means to walk with God, have a relationship, be a woman of dignity and character. So those are the things that I would love to do with the girls in the future, and we are pretty open to what God's speaking. So we are trying to just take our time, like you said, get the heartbeat of God and walk with him, partner with him. Of course, we really, really want to unify the community. That's our thing, is to have a place that they can come. I think we get overjoyed every night because we get texts from young guys wanting to play pickup basketball. And even though that's not a big deal, it makes us so happy that we have a place that we can provide for them off the streets to come in and play. And our big thing is that we have to manage the gymnasium time slots wisely because they're packed every night. So we're just trying to figure things out to host the kids and be a place for them.
Yeah, and on that, we were down at the gym, and I ran into one of the kids, and the kid said to me, he said, Nate, he said, this is the first time since high school that all of our friends can get together. And there's like 20 to 30 kids that get together, and it's just full of life. And that's the great thing. Since we opened this and we've owned it for a month, there's so much life on it right now. And it's just bringing life to Tyrone already, like I said, the first month.
I spent probably 4, almost 5 years away from any kind of faith. I just soundly rejected it, and I found I'm going to go find fun. I'm going to go find happiness. And I did that and made a miserable mess of my life. And I got to a place where I connected with a campus ministry, mostly because I was after a girl. And she told me I had to go. And she said, if you want to see me on Fridays, you have to go to this campus ministry. So I did. And through the process of just being a part of that campus ministry, I encountered Jesus and gave my life to Jesus. And as a result of that decision and beginning to like follow Jesus and beginning to like live life, a life of following Jesus, I've now planted a church, have seen so many people come to know Jesus. We've baptized in our 4 years almost 30 people. And I attribute all of that to the faithfulness of people in southern Indiana who really didn't know who I was, but they wanted me to know Jesus. And so the faithfulness of a campus ministry is now having impact in a city that they didn't even know.
After sitting down with several students and leaders, we spent the rest of the evening in their weekly service. The atmosphere was one of hope, joy, and passion as these students sang songs, did activities, and listened to Evan deliver a powerful and appropriate message.
All things good, that this God who existed before time existed, said, I want to create, and so he creates. And he builds this extravagant world of goodness and places.
Transformation is evident in the lives of these college students. To say we were pleasantly surprised would be an understatement. We conclude with Evan as he explains the supporting organization structure that allows this ministry to exist.
So I think one thing that I would hope that people could walk away understanding is that SALT is the ministry that we do here on campus. That's the student group, and Derek's going to come in, and he's from the ACO. But like I said, we work for an organization called the CCO.
What are those?
There's lots of C's and O's and all
what
that.
does that mean?
So ACO is the Altoona Collegiate Outreach,
Okay.
whereas the CCO is the Coalition for Christian Outreach.
Okay.
And so the Coalition for Christian Outreach, the CCO, partners with the Altoona Collegiate Outreach, the ACO, and together they hire Heather and I, and then Ray's a fellow with us this year, and together they partner so that we can do ministry with SALT here on campus. So it's this complex web of relationships. But
on February 20th, 1920, a group of local pastors and laymen from various denominations met in the Pennsylvania Railroad YMCA building on the corner of 11th Avenue and 13th Street in Altoona. Their purpose was to attempt to establish a summer Bible conference for the Altoona area. It was felt that Altoona would be a good place to hold such an event due to its mountain terrain, which would help the attendees to have that special mountaintop experience associated with Bible-themed conferences. Also, Altoona was a railroad city with many passenger trains arriving daily on the main line at the Altoona station. Many other trains also arrived at the Tyrone and Hollidaysburg stations on the Pennsylvania Railroad branch lines. Speakers from all over the United States would have easy travel to Altoona by way of the railroad. Remember, in 1920, the highway system and the automobiles were very primitive, so most traveled by rail. The place decided upon to hold the conference was Lakemont Park. It was a beautiful place with many natural and man-made gardens and walks, a place where attendees could take time to think about the speaker's words and how they could be used in their own lives. There were also picnic groves where people could enjoy a meal between sessions. Also, there was the casino, a large building next to the lake which would hold many people. It had a stage for the speakers and music leaders, and it was sort of an open building which allowed the cool air from the lake to drift over the crowd, providing natural air conditioning, something needed for summer conferences, which the local churches could not provide in their buildings. To get people to the park was also an easy task, even in the days when most families did not own an automobile. The streetcars of the Altoona and Logan Valley Electric Railway ran all through Altoona and the surrounding area. They even stopped at the railroad stations in Altoona, Tyrone, and Hollidaysburg, so folks coming by train could hop on a trolley car and continue their trip to the conference at the park. And since Logan Valley, the local name for the trolley company, also owned Lakemont Park, they used many extra cars to get people to the park conference. It was a win-win situation for them, and they bent over backwards to help with the conference. The first conference was held July 31st through August 8th, 1920. The program for that event listed 12 different speakers from around the country. The 9-day event had 8 messages preached each day for a total of 64 sermons, Bible expositions, or mission reports. The park's casino and the theater in the woods, later called the roller rink, were used to accommodate the estimated 5,000 people who attended that first year.
The conviction of the men on the board, the desire to keep the witness alive, the Bible conference plan and mission was to preach sound doctrine, Bible doctrine, very biblically centered, and to discourage heresy and cultism. And those things, I believe, were very important in the early days of Altoona.
This conference is truly one of a kind. The fellowship is like being with dearly loved friends. And each detail of the conference is handled with professionality, from the people in the pulpit doing the speaking and the music, to the people behind the scenes handling all of the technical things, and all of the workers that combine to make this such a wonderful conference.
Well, the leadership, and recently with Gary and the Way of Truth Ministries taking the helm, saved it. But it's had very good leadership over the years, but then it started to falter, and somebody stepped forward and was able to keep it moving. So it hasn't been easy, as everybody knows. I mean, we see churches that are closing in our area, that are being torn down in our area. That it's a sad thing to see churches being dismantled out in our city. But so this has been a difficult thing to keep alive. But God obviously has a purpose for the conference and has kept it around for over 100 years, and that's a magnificent milestone to reach for a Bible conference, especially in an area like central Pennsylvania. You know, it's not a thriving economy. People kind of have been fragmented here in many ways over the years with the churches, but that conference has maintained its presence and is there every year.
That's all the time we have today. Thanks for watching Joy in the City True Stories. Let me encourage you to watch other episodes of people and organizations having an impact on our community on ABC 23 at 5:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. every Sunday. You can also catch us each week on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Until then, be encouraged because God is moving in our city.